All right. Howdy, folks. How are you guys today? I'm doing well. As you can see, we have a special guest with us here today. Adam, you've been on with me a couple times
A few
before.
times, yeah. I guess I can be like a regular, or what, Saturday Night Live, if they're hosted 5 times, they get a jacket, right? Do
I don't have a
I
jacket for you. I'm
I don't
sorry.
get
I
I don't
could
get a
just
sports
pretend, I guess.
jacket.
Maybe get
All
a
right.
towel or something like that. Put over your head.
A terrible towel,
A
maybe.
terrible towel. There you go. Very good. For those that don't know, Adam, do you want to introduce yourself to the guys real quick?
Sure, I can do that. So yeah, my name's Adam Nisenson. I'm known as the Betrayal Shrink. That's how I've shown up a bunch on your materials, Ralph. I'm also a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm also what's called a CSAT, which is a certified sex addiction therapist. So
Ooh, titillating. Yeah,
that's
let's get
who I
into
am work wise. Yeah.
there. Okay. Well, my name, for those that don't know me, you're just stumbled upon this and wondering who I am and what we're doing here. My name is Ralph, and I've been putting content under the name of Dad starting over for years now because, like a lot of you guys watching this, I endured a nasty divorce that involved infidelity and all that fun stuff. That was about going on 13 years ago
Me
now.
too.
Yay. Yay, us.
Yay.
And, I had to go through the whole single dad to three little kids thing and mother going through like a midlife crisis thing, whatever you want to call it, and all that fun stuff. That went on for years. And I did the hard work of rebuilding myself and going through the process of figuring out what got me in this mess and everything else. And I have been devoting myself professionally to the cause of helping other men go through this. So when I talk to all kinds of important people in the biz, like Mr. Adam Nisenson here, the Betrayal Shrink, who specializes in helping out guys dealing with the emotional trauma, I guess you could say, and the coping with
Yeah.
the aftermath of betrayal, in
Just
addition to
understanding betrayal, right?
understanding betrayal.
Yeah.
And it affects different people in different ways. And it was a pretty acutely painful and traumatic to me, to be quite honest, put it out there. And it took me a while to come to terms with it, I guess you could say, and what that meant for me and how to overcome and how I got there. That was a big part of it, how I got there. And then you and I connected some time back, and we've been talking off and on here, and it's always been a wonderful conversation. So I love having you here. And just so you guys are aware, we do have, well, I didn't mention this, I have a private community for men called the Brotherhood. And you can learn more at helpformen.com or jump right to the join page at helpformen.com/join and put it on the screen there. And we have an annual event for our group, which is this year, actually next year, 2026.
Next year.
The next one coming up is going to be open to the public as well. So if you're a guy that's like, I'm not a paying member of the group yet or anything, but I'd like to come see what it's all about. And I'd like to come see Adam and Ralph and Dr. Robert Glover and Lauren the Dadvocate and the whole Help for Men team. Well, you can do so. You can come join us in Louisville, Kentucky next year. March 27, 28, 2026. Go to brofest2026.com to learn more, brofest2026.com. And like I say, meet myself in person if that means anything to you. And Adam Nisenson, the Betrayal Shrink here, and
I'll
Dr.
be there
Robert
too.
Glover. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're all going to be there.
If anything, Ralph, they should come just for the name. I mean, Brofest.
Brofest. I mean, you can't get much more
Like,
manly than the
nah,
Brofest, for God's sake.
I need a T-shirt. That sounds pretty awesome.
Oh, you know what? We don't have Brofest T-shirts. We do have T-shirts that say Help for Men, the Help for Men logo on the front, but
Yeah, maybe
good
a
idea.
Brofest
Good
action.
idea.
Yeah.
And I do have a new book in the works that should be out by the end of this year, hopefully before winter, like fall. So, what are you working on anything? You do have a book yourself.
Yeah, my book's been out. Actually, hang on.
Yes,
should
please.
have a copyright for
Show and tell time.
purposes. Hang on. So yes, so here's my
there
book.
it is. A Man's Guide to Partner
Betrayal. It's actually the only book out there written by a man for men to navigate partner betrayal. Also, I have a workbook on trust after betrayal. You know, my publisher is pushing me to finish my workbook that's going to go with this book to help men navigate betrayal. So,
very good.
But as you know, Ralph, it's hard to find time to do everything all the time.
Tell me about it.
So,
and have you done the audio for your book? You plan on it?
No, I don't know. I'd have to ask my publisher.
Men love audiobooks. They love podcast audiobooks. And when I did that, that kind of sent my book into the next level of a whole other world.
Yeah, I should talk to them about that. I started a little podcast, and you're going to be a guest one day, Ralph, when I start having guests, but it's called Men Get Cheated On Too.
Love it. That's awesome.
To the
what
point,
a good title. Very
That's it,
cool.
man. That's it. And they're short. They're like 7 to 10 minute podcasts. They drop every Monday. It's just me talking about a specific painful topic that men experience in betrayal. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
down the road, I'll have guests, and those will be longer format out on video too.
Very cool.
So
So Men Get Cheated
yeah,
On To podcast. Check it out, guys. Men Get
yeah,
Cheated On To. Adam Nisenson. Do a search on your Apple Podcast. I assume you're on Spotify, all the
yeah.
podcast players. Yeah.
I'm not hard to find on the
Not
internet.
hard to
That's for
find.
sure.
Great. And
Yeah.
betrayalshrink.com is your website.
Yep.
Betrayalshrink.com. Check that out. You know, you and I have spoken about the world of being cheated on and all that fun stuff, as I often say. One of my catchphrases. You
Yep.
know what, Adam, when you do this long enough, you start noticing your little verbal crutches that you
All the my clients call them atomisms for me.
atomisms.
So yes, it's always there's the
I got a
same
little
lines
DSOisms.
drop over and over. Yeah.
It's got to the point where I'm going to do a drinking game. I'm like, guys, so one of those things I would say
Every
is
time.
all that good stuff. It's a little verbal
Totally.
crutch. But yeah, what we don't talk about much, and I thought it'd be interesting to focus on this a little bit. And guys, just for those watching on YouTube and X, we are not live. Oh, let me fill you in on the drama here, Adam. Oh my goodness. Facebook, I woke up one morning, decided, Ralph, we're not going to let you do any lives for like the next month, and you're not going to be able to make money anymore on Facebook. I'm like, what happened? What'd I do? And so I went and looked, and it turned out I had screen captured a post that somebody made on Reddit, you know, the online discussion forum thing, where he said, guys, I think I figured out a solution to my dead bedroom situation. What do you think of this? And his solution was, what if I pay my wife to go to bed with me? And I took a screen capture and posted on Facebook, and I said, guys, this is no way to go through life. This is not healthy. Don't do this kind of stuff. And it generated some conversation with guys going, I thought about the same thing. Oh, this is awful. Why would men do this? And on and on and on. So it's a good post. Facebook saw that, and their little robot detection system saw some of the keywords and said, I was soliciting for sex. It's like, Facebook guy,
Wow.
you misunderstood the whole thing. So I appealed, and apparently the humans reviewed it and said, no, we agree with the robot. It should be taken down, and you're penalized for it. I'm like,
Yeah. They didn't review it, Ralph.
no, of course they didn't. So I have to go to a whole board and everything if I want to say. I was like, oh, Christ. So I got to do all that. And so our audience, it's not too bad right now. We're going to reach, thousands more with this as the recording of this is published and the clips from this are published. So not a huge deal, but Facebook was, I always tell guys I put money in terms of bills. Facebook was paying my mortgage. So not no more. So it's not nothing, So all right. But we'll move on, right? It is what it is.
It is. We're here though. We're going to do this.
We're here though, and we're talking to our guys on YouTube. Thank you all for joining us on YouTube. But anyway, back to what I want to talk about today. We always talk about the betrayal thing. We always talk about the being cheated on thing. The sex addiction thing is the other angle of this. And let me put this out there to steer the conversation. A lot of guys that talk to me are pretty anxious in nature, as I often say. They're anxious in their temperament, very anxiety-prone guys. Probably neurotic is probably the proper psychiatric term there. And they're also very anxious in their attachment to their partner. As far as, when you look at the attachment styles, I'm avoidant, I'm anxious or preoccupied. They're very preoccupied and anxious in their relationships, which for those that don't know means they're the ones pursuing. They're the ones that are been called very needy when it comes to romantic relationships. I want to talk about this, and I want to talk about it some more. And hey, wife, watch this YouTube video about relationships, and let's go to counseling. Let's read this book. And ironically, they tend to be paired up with women who are like, can you just stop it already? I don't like talking about things all the time. I'm very avoidant in nature. And often
I was going to say,
and often what corresponds with that is, and I'm not the most sexual person in the world either. I don't need it all the time is what they hear from their wife, if ever, unfortunately. So when you got Mr. Needy, who is sometimes ADHD, and he's kind of hypersexual in that way, and he just needs a lot of loving. He could do it several times a day if he was able to. And he's matched up with this woman that's like, get away from me. And the woman often in that dynamic pulls out the old bomb of, dude, I think you're a sex addict. I think you need to get help. And the guy's like, we haven't had sex in 6 months. just because I ask for it every now and then doesn't make me an addict. So when guys, some of those guys may hear from somebody like you say the word sex addict, those guys may roll their eyes going, oh shit, here we go again. More shaming of men and their sexuality.
Yeah. Ralph, I hear that a lot. I sometimes I think the word sex addiction can totally be, like you were just saying, it can be weaponized and misused. I think it's often misunderstood. Um, I have so many guys like I have two kind of practices, right? I have my betrayal side, and then I have my therapy, my sex addiction side. And like I would say a majority of those men, I would not necessarily call them truly sex addicts, but more men that are struggling with compulsivity or misuse of their sexuality. And then I have some guys like that are truly sex addicts and struggle. But I hate that it's labeled. I hate that it's weaponized. And I you bring up a good point. If a partner threatens like that or labels you like that, I've had that happen with plenty of clients, and they often ask me, "What do I do?" And my answer would be, I'm curious what the partner's definition is of a sex addict, right? Because I think it's so misunderstood. And I don't know what road you want me to go down here with, and if there's going to be tons. Hopefully, there'll be tons of questions we can bounce around today. But let me just say this: at the end of the day, if sex gets in the way of your life, it is something you need to look at. And to give you some examples, um, the man cheating on their partner, right? Having affairs, going to massage parlors for what we call happy endings. If you're working your day around, if you're thinking about acting out, right? If you're thinking, like I have some guys that I would say compulsively are addicted to porn. So they're doing it every day or every other day or a couple times a day. And what a lot of men don't realize that I work with, let's just say they're like, I only look 30 minutes a day. Like, okay, well, we all probably look at social media and Facebook and YouTube longer than that in a day. So they don't think that's that bad. But what they don't realize is the amount of time that they spend thinking about looking and planning when they're going to look and how that looks. And then also, what does that do to their connection with if they're in a committed relationship, what does that do to that relationship, right? What's the impact on their partner, right? And then also, what does that do to their own sex drive or their own intentions or how they're even perceiving their partner? So there's so many variables to this topic for sure. So I've
Is it
rambled. Go
is
ahead.
as simple as saying, because there are some people that say, I don't really think sex addiction is really a thing. Like it's not
Yeah,
like a drug addiction or alcohol or
yeah,
something.
that's out there. There are those people that say that. In the therapy and the psychology world, it's interesting. There's two different governing bodies, and one recognizes it, and the other one's still on the bubble. And I can tell you this just from all my years doing it. I mean, if to say that there's no such thing as sex addiction would almost be like saying there's no such thing as people being addicted to social media or truly being addicted to alcohol or addicted to working out or addicted, like by nature. I think humans, we have compulsive tendencies. Again, to me, if something starts to get in the way of your life, if it starts to be something that you don't want, then, and if it starts to get in your way of your own integrity and your own accountability, I think then it's a problem. I can tell you this, everything I know and I've read in the science and I've studied, sex addiction, sexual compulsivity, the things that people experience when they're preparing, getting ready to act out and act out, same dopamine receivers, same sort of endorphins, everything the body experiences the same. It's just a different drug. That's all. But you get the same kind of response to your body from it for sure.
So whether it's gambling on football or which
That's even
I'm
that's
seeing
that
more and
might
more
even be,
of. Yeah, it's
that might end up becoming a bigger problem than porn.
because
There's a
it's
lot of
so
the stuff
readily
I'm reading.
available. Like when I go
Yeah.
to a friend's house or something to watch some big football game, or even if I'm at the kids' game or something, I'm surrounded by all these dads. They're all on their phone. and you think, what are they doing? Are
Yeah.
they on Facebook or what? No, they're all like, did
Oh,
you see the
has
line on the Bears game is now da 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 da? And
yeah.
I'm thinking about it and on, and I'm like, wow, this is a lot
It's
more.
it's a problem. Yeah,
Yeah,
actually, and
a lot bigger than I thought it was.
they're targeting. There's some statistics out there. I don't know the exact numbers, but what's happening in the college dorm rooms with these college kids. And there's no way to really govern it per se, right? It's so easy to have a fake persona or have a fake something or have an older friend do it for you. But that creates that excitement, that endorphins. Like, I don't know, I didn't need to gamble when I watched sports growing up. I still don't, right? It's not. But yeah, that's a big problem. The other thing too, you just made me think of is what's really interesting. I see in my practice so much, Ralph, and it's sad at the same time, is that I see men that are exposed and start their porn addiction or their sexual compulsivity, whatever you want to call it, like 10 to 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. That's so sad. And they started it maybe out of curiosity, but the bigger part is what started it was learning it was a way of coping and
Mm-hmm.
managing feelings. And that's the other thing, is that if you're really, guys, brutally honest with yourself, if that's how you're coping, if that's how you feel better at the end of the day, if that's what helps you fall asleep at night, that's not necessarily healthy. That's not necessarily normal. It's an old coping mechanism that needs to be looked at. So,
Are we assuming that? Pardon me for getting graphic here. Are
no,
we
you're
assuming
good.
that this always involves the man servicing himself in that way, or is it just looking at an image or video repeatedly throughout the day and getting that dopamine hit?
Yeah, actually, it could be both. I don't know the statistics, but it's actually more than you might think of men that will actually, let's say, look at porn and not look at
Carry
porn to
through with
point
the.
of an orgasm,
Mm,
right? So it's actually, those numbers are pretty big too. That's just another way men, when they were young, because they couldn't orgasm, but they learned looking and all that kind of would calm them. They would feel better, right? They wouldn't have to feel or hear mom and dad fighting, or they were
hmm.
bullied at school, or girls didn't like them or whatever. So
I
yeah, it
can
works both ways.
I can see how this dopamine hitting stuff, something like pornography, like when you and I were kids. I'll be 50 this year. It was print material is what it started with, which
Yeah,
was relatively difficult to put your hands on. The store kept
so
it
hard
away
to
from the
get, right?
shelf, and all the stuff. So you had to, like, maybe you found dad's stash or a friend of dad's friend or
Yeah,
brother or something like that. So you had to find your way to it. But now it's just click click done, and
it's
it's
that's the
infinite
yeah.
amount. And that
It's not only that, man, it is everywhere, right? And just not only actually, let's say, porn, but just sexually explicit material, or risque, or what kids see today, like when they're on Instagram and stuff. And once it gets that, like, you start looking at women in bikinis, it'll just keep feeding you
oh
that, and
yeah,
then
I
it
know.
gets deeper, gets deeper and deeper into that hole. It
Yeah.
takes you, and often will take. I have some guys that'll tell me, like, it will just take them in a direction they never imagined. So
Hmm.
that's actually the other part I want to bring up, and I want men to think about and really be honest with yourself. Is so many of the guys I work with, it started off innocent, right? Oh, just, I found my dad's Playboys, and it was maybe once a week, once a month, right? And one of the things with this compulsivity or addiction that happens is I call it the heroin effect. And it's like, you can't, you get one bump, well, then you're going to need two, right? And so many guys I work with will be like, they will go to massage parlors, or they end up having experiences with prostitution and stuff, and they'll be like, I don't know who I am. This isn't me. I can't believe I'm that guy.
Hmm.
And if that doesn't tell you it's an addiction, then I don't know what is, right?
Yeah.
Because when we start to lose control of ourselves, when we forget our core values and what's important in our life, when we're willing, or unwilling, but do it, and break a bond we have with our partner, I mean, that's 911 to me. And it's fixable. You can, if like anything in life, one of the things I love about being human is we have free will, and we have the ability to grow and change. And yes, an old dog can learn a new trick, and you can be better than you ever imagined. So that's the other part is this condition I find really takes away from intimacy with your partner. So that's a whole nother part of this.
But then we're stuck in this, I don't know if catch 22 is the right term, this circle here of logic where the men will excuse away their use of pornography by saying, look, and let's be honest, they have a point. This pornography exists for a reason. It's because the market has requested it. Basically, it wouldn't be so
Sure.
prevalent if there wasn't a quote need or demand for it. And why is there such a need or demand? Because the majority of men don't get their needs fully met in that way, so to speak, within the relationship. So you got a guy that's like, my wife hasn't touched me for 4 months. What do you expect out of me? You know, when the menu of all this available stuff is there and free.
Sure, but yeah, but Ralph, I'll also say this. I think the porn industry has also created the need. You know, you could say the same, like cigarettes, they created a need, right? They created that feeling. They created a lifestyle, the way they marketed it and the way they made people perceive what they were doing. Look, there's a need for alcohol. Sure, there's probably a need for porn. There's a need for everything, right? It's just like, to what is the limit? I think the porn industry they've exceeded beyond what that need is, right? They've actually, like gambling, they've created the compulsivity. They've created the need in a bigger sense. You know, a man who hasn't been intimate with his wife in 4 months, going to porn is not going to fix that issue in the marriage.
No,
right?
it's just a Band-Aid, I guess you could say,
It's not. I don't even know if it's a
gushing
Band-Aid.
wound.
I think it creates a bigger gap, because then I see this all the time. What happens is then the man stops asking, right? And they stop wanting, and then they go into this other rabbit hole that's super lonely, and it's honestly super not fulfilling. And then their partner, they start to wonder too, maybe, or they're finally relieved and they give up. Like, everyone gives up. You can't have a relationship where you give up. Relationships take work. You have to fight for it. You have to understand there's work to do. If your partner doesn't want to be physically intimate with you, you know, that says actually more about your partner than it does about you, right? And so
there's the soundbite right there.
There you go. Yeah, the drop the mic. But that's where you do the work, right? That's the same thing like with infidelity, right? It's almost the same difference. Oh, we're drifting apart. He or she wasn't giving me attention, so I found it elsewhere. That doesn't fix shit. That just makes it worse. That makes it to the point where you can't heal or you can't figure it out. You know, I've had partners' wives say, well, if he's using porn, great. He can just keep doing it because I don't want to have to deal with that. The marriage is over, right? It's hard to come back from that, I think.
Yeah, the old, you have your hand, don't you? That's some of what men hear from women that are very checked out of the relationship, and he keeps pestering her for sex.
Yeah, they keep poking the bear and they don't want to, right? It gives them an out and it gives them an excuse. These are all excuse things versus really stepping. I always tell my guys, you got to lean in, man. You got to lean into that sharpest point, and that's where the work is. And you have to challenge your wife, and she has to be doing her work. You both have to do your work to understand what is the intimacy block and what's happening. Because, you know, also at the same time, I don't think you can have a truly healthy marriage or relationship without having a healthy, safe, connected sexual, physical intimacy in your marriage. I think that's hard to do.
Yeah, a lot of these vices, for lack of a better term, that we're talking about, gambling, alcohol, for example, drugs, pornography, sexual material, if you want to call it that. You know, this has been going on for thousands of years, all of those. People have been gambling and drinking and doing the porn thing.
Oldest profession in the world.
The oldest profession is sex work, and it's been around forever.
Yeah.
Well, then doesn't that point to this is just a natural proclivity within the human species? Yeah, in a way, yes, but our how to say this, the sexual gambling alcohol founding fathers never thought it would come to this, where we have an infinite supply on a magical box in our hands 24/7 that we have access to, and that it would lead to that it would be engineered in such a way that is just so prime for compulsive behavior and people that are compulsive. And it doesn't necessarily need a person to be, there's also the prevailing thought of, I'm not really a very addictive type of person. I'm not, which I would call myself not so addictive type of person. I've never been really into drinking. And I saw people around me just like, before I go out tonight, I got to drink a case of beer. And I'm like, are you okay?
Yeah.
That's very common.
Tough. Yeah.
All I have to do is, for example, on my Dad Starting Over page, is post something that's mildly anti-alcohol on my page. You'll have commenters come out of the woodwork to say, who are you to tell me what kind of teetotaling beta male are you, and all this other stuff. There's a lot attached to the world of alcohol, for example.
Yeah.
Hypermasculinity and everything else.
Stigmas. Yeah.
It's really embedded into our social fabric. And porn is kind of going in that way too. It's like, it's just something you do, man.
Yeah. 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 What does it matter? It's not, I hug guys a lot. They'll say things like in my work, we call it impaired thinking, right? It's like, well, it's not hurting anyone, or no one knows, right? Or it's only for 30 minutes. And what I'll say is that, sure, that could be true. And at the end of the day, we don't know, like when you're looking at porn, you don't know the story behind that person in the videos or in the photos. You don't know why they're doing this. You don't even know, statistically, it's super high, but I don't even remember the number. Let's just call it, though, for conversational purposes. 60-70% of porn is actually aggressive and abusively formatted or formed or themed against women. And so if you're a dad and you have a young son, is that okay for you to know if you knew he's watching that? Is that what you want him to watch? Or if you're a dad who has a daughter, like I always say, like all those women in porn are somebody's daughter. So if you're going to have impaired thinking, if you're going to be open to reframing like your view, I'm going to ask you to reframe it in a couple other ways too, and see what fits your core values.
Yeah, it's I wrote about this in my book, Real Talk, which is a book I wrote for young men, that we see this pornification is the term I use. It crosses over into a lot of aspects of our relationship life. And one of those, unfortunately, that we see is when you talk to counselors who specialize in helping out teens, they are reporting the girls are saying, the boys I'm with are very, very scary in bed. They want to choke. They want to do this and that. They want to do every orifice right off the bat, and all these. And I don't feel safe and comfortable doing that. I'm kind of scared, honestly, about that.
Yeah. They don't understand they don't understand intimacy and touch and physical touch. And there's a big difference between screwing and making love, and both have a place. Trust me, both work, but making love is the art of connecting with your partner. Making love is the art of being safe and trusting, right? And pleasuring each other, right? And kids, you don't get that in porn, right? Porn, there's some little conversation and bang, it's at it, right? And there's nothing, there's no intimacy in that in the true sense. So yeah, kids are getting super skewed view on what is sex and what is it about. And also they're getting a message, it's about conquest. And I want to add another part is, I think that what we see in porn, right, for men is that they get a skewed view also of what the male body looks like, right? And that can create body dysmorphia and lack of sense of self-worth and stuff like that. So yeah,
I guess one interesting positive aspect, I guess you could say, out of all this is it's interesting how a lot of women, when I was a kid, used to say that all those women in Playboy and the other things, which is a form of pornography, represented a very unachievable ideal for a lot of women. Like, look at this woman; she's perfect, cellulite free, and everything else. But we're seeing we're seeing a lot of young men are veering. They're a lot more lackadaisical about what they will accept in women these days. I don't know if that's a result of seeing a lot of different naked women on the internet or what it is, but we're seeing a lot of men are like, I don't mind it if she's 30, 40 pounds overweight and looks like this and that. And a lot of women are like, woohoo, or they're starting to come around.
I mean, it is, the whole fetish, porn has created fetishes that we've never even really heard of. Right. So that's kind of what you're saying. what I was saying is for men, another danger of porn is I think it kills how young men, young teenage boys see their bodies and what they expect, and I wrote a blog years ago around penis size, because that's always no man thinks that their penis is big enough, right? And porn kills that idea of us loving our own body, accepting our own body, or believing what we have is enough. That's a whole nother time for us to talk. I guess we could talk about male body dysmorphia, but
that is a growing thing. We see it in terms of the whole genitalia thing. We also see that in terms of muscles. We have a lot of young guys hitting the gym obsessively and taking a lot of anabolics and other agents to get as muscular and as lean as humanly possible. And that combination can be very unhealthy for a lot of people to maintain that and try to reach that. You get 20-some-year-olds with blood pressure through the roof and everything else, and they're trying to chase some kind of physical ideal that is where'd you get the idea that was a good thing? Well,
not possible. Yeah, true.
Online stuff, porn stuff, whatever it may be, superheroes or whatever, and it's the pornification thing, going down the road of this, it's always the same thing with a lot of these obsessive type of things. I start with just looking at some nudity. We got Jay here in the comments saying he remembers growing up in the 90s looking at Cinemax on TV. Starts there.
We called it Skinemax.
Skinemax, which is basically like R-rated, a lot of boobies and stuff like that, right? And then
just a little bit more than
But what happens is it never stops at just that for a lot of guys. It's now that I had a taste, the heroin thing.
That's the gateway.
I want this, and I want this, and I want this. And some men are more prone to that than others, sure. I talk to a lot of the ADHD guys who seem to be really prone to that. And some of the guys I talk to, I've said that one of my verbal crutches or little stories that I go back to all the time is I will often speak to men who are overcoming dead bedroom situations, and they are reconnecting with their wife at a very positive level. And he'll say, I have gone from once every couple of months that we'll get it on to like once or twice a week. And I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Good for you, right? And he's, yeah, but, and here it comes, the old pornification. I would really like to get into, and they just lay out some of the most like out there stuff imaginable. It's really, it's not like illegal, but it's like threesomes and this and that. And I want to take her to a swingers club and I want to do all this other stuff. And I'm like, dude, at some point you're gonna have to pump the brakes here, man. It's
not gonna fix it, man.
Nothing's never going to be good enough for you in this, and you're always chasing that high, chasing the dragon, and dragging this poor woman along with you, and it's going to breed a lot of resentment. And sure enough, it does. Like, and what do they got? What do these guys hear from the woman? I don't think I'm ever going to be enough for you. And she's right. In his current state, she's not. He's
not enough for himself either.
He's not. Another mic drop. Look at you with the sound bites there.
Yeah. To think I feel tired today. I saw another message from Mark. I thought it was
yes.
Can I read? I'm going to read it.
Please go ahead.
Mark said, my perspective on CSATs was that they focus entirely on the behaviors, but they don't attend to the relationship with the partner. Sometimes men are not heard, especially regarding her neglect. It's a great question, Mark. So that's true and not true. So in the CSAT work, the first phase is like, here's the deal. I have a lot of men that they quit the work, right? So they never get to the next part, right? But the first phase is all about accountability. It's all about your behaviors. It's about understanding how you got there, the impact of them, accountability, and growth and change. The second part of a CSAT's job, I'm actually with a lot of my men that stick in this work, and this work, CSAT work, sex addiction, sex compulsivity, can take anywhere from 3 to 4 years. It's not a quick fix, right? And that turns a lot of guys off because they're like, I want instant gratification.
It's every man, yeah.
Yeah, but here's the deal. If the statistics, most men start when they're 10 to 14, that's what I see in my practice. Well, if you have a lot and you come to me and you're in your 40s, well, there's a lot of rewiring. There's a lot that has to be worked on and understood and healed and changed. And so the second phase of the work for me is I call it's the healing phase, right? And that's less about accountability, and that's more looking at how did you get here and what happened and what are your grievances and who are the people that impacted you and what's your trauma and stuff like that. And so do get more into the relational, more into the how did this all happen? So there's more understanding, and then the healing is kind of, for me, I see for men, that's where the sobriety and the healthiness really latches in. So
Yeah, there is, as Mark is kind of alluding to here, there is a predominant theme amongst a lot of men when talking about any kind of therapy. A lot of men will think that it's inherently at its core kind of shaming men in a lot of ways. A lot of men go into
mm,
sessions and they feel like the therapist is kind of going, "You bad boy," and you're at the root of a lot of
yeah,
these problems.
I
And so he
mean,
sees this as probably a continuation of that.
maybe look, I'm not saying I'm like the greatest therapist. I think I do a good job. I have a low turnover, and one of my things is I meet the guys where they're at. And I would tell you guys this: if you're thinking about going to therapy, I every guy I work with, I do a connection call. I'll do a 15 to 20-minute Zoom call with you, because I think the relationship between the therapist and the client is as, if not more important than the therapist's own ability and training. If you don't feel safe with that person, if you don't think they get you and understand you, if you don't think they're going to challenge you, then you shouldn't work with that person. If a therapist is shaming, I would leave. I mean, that doesn't shaming. You have enough. You're holding enough shame, And one of the things I say, I probably said this before in one of your shows, Ralph, is shame, guys, is toxic, right? Shame becomes a belief system. It's I'm terrible, I'm unworthy, I'm a loser, whatever it might be. And shame, because it's unspeakable, we can't heal it. You can only heal things that you're willing to talk about. So if you don't trust your therapist, if you have a CSAT that's judgmental, like I tell my guys, like I'm maybe shocked once or twice a year. And if you shock me, I'm going to tell you, not in a shaming way, but like, oh, holy crap. All right, let's dig into that. Right. So you have to feel comfortable with the person you're working with, for sure. All right. That's my soapbox.
Very good. Very well put. And then Jay here saying, "Yep, Skinamax, the old softcore. I didn't have internet porn yet, so as a 13-year-old Cinemax in my bedroom, it got me through puberty." There you go. So he has framed it as a tool to appease a need that otherwise would have been directed how? Violently as a teenager, or another way?
Yeah. Well, here's another thing: is why do we stop teaching young boys what it means to be a man? Right. And being a man, of course, is more than just sex and understanding your body. But I think we've lost that art, right? In the ancient days, right? The elders would come for the little boys. They would take them off into the jungle, the forest, whatever, and they would teach them everything they needed to know how to survive and care for themselves and others. And we just kind of stopped like mentoring and truly teaching men today. It's another part that really makes me sad. And so men fall into these traps, and they fall into traps, and then their mentors end up being really toxic men out there on the internet and stuff, and men that really teach, I think, not what it means to be a man.
It seems to be a natural response to a lot of this stuff is when you have this shamed, downtrodden population, whatever it may be, for somebody to come forth and say, you're actually not bad for having those thoughts and feelings and so forth. You're actually better for having those thoughts and feelings. And let's propagate those thoughts and feelings. Yay, more porn. Yay, more this. Yay, more that. And let's sexualize everything. And let's, err on the side of being more brutal, physical, whatever it may be. And that's appealing when you've been kind of the opposite, super shamed for having any kind of masculinity or anything. At least that's
feeds
how you.
Feeds where they're at.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I always tell people, do not go to Reddit for moral support. Do not go to Reddit to find your tribe, because you don't know who those people are, or what their wounds are. They're trying. Look, I have empathy for those people. They probably had a lot of their own, right? Like women cheated on them, or they had poor sexual experiences, or whatever their trauma was growing up. And so they haven't decided to heal. I want men to heal. I want you to own your stuff, and I want you to step into it. That's where the growth happens, for sure.
It seems to be for a lot of the men that I work with, it seems like they have this either or mentality of I got this woman over here who tells me she wants nothing to do with me sexually and hasn't for months, if not years. So I'm going to swing my pendulum over here to first it starts, like you say, it's like chasing the dragon thing, pornography.
Yep.
And then next thing I know, I'm going to the rub and tug, as they call it, the happy ending
Yep.
place. And then after that, next thing you know, I'm calling escorts and I'm doing all kinds of stuff. And then I have a full blown affair or two or three with other women and on and on and on. And it seems like there's no in between for a lot of guys. And what they see is that if you are shaming what they're doing to what in their mind is to remedy this situation over here with the sexless marriage, if you shame their solutions, so to speak, you're shaming them and you're shaming their sexuality and no, it's just that your methodology for
Yeah.
resolving the issue
Unhealthy.
is flawed, and it's
Yeah.
causing a lot more damage than what your current addicted brain is able to process. You need to remove yourself from that. So when you go to a therapist and they're like, dude, you got to cut that shit out. They're like, here we go. Shaming the man for, trying to resolve the issue. Why don't we address the goddamn issue over here first? It's like, yeah, but the easy pickings right now is you going to see prostitutes and all this other impulsive behavior is a big no-no. Let's figure out how to cut that out.
Yeah.
And then what happens is they have to face the demon, so to speak, of the marriage and the core issues. And guess
Yeah.
what, buddy? You're in a relationship that died years ago, and you just don't
I
want to
gotta
face it.
face it all. Yeah, if you keep acting out, if you are in those negative, and some of these behaviors, Ralph, are really dangerous too, right?
Sure.
Like prostitution, sexually transmitted diseases, all these things can be really devastating. I've had guys that have lost jobs because they looked at porn while at work on
Mm,
company computers. They lost everything, their livelihood. And so if you don't own the behavior, look at the behavior, work on the behavior, you can't heal, you can't get into the other parts. Because if you're in the behavior and you're going to therapy, there's no growth, there's no change, nothing's happening. You're just stuck and you're just checking a box saying you're going to therapy. So yeah, you need to find sobriety, or if anything, like you need to have some accountability. Little wins, or just at least starting to own what's happening is where the growth starts.
because
You
it
know,
just like with everything else, if you don't do that hard work, you're going to do this all over again. Like, let's say in that example I gave, he ends up divorcing that woman, and then he goes out in the market and he starts dating, and he's like, "Woohoo! I have plentiful sex," and there we go. It was the
wash,
wife's
rinse,
problem
repeat.
all along. And then that relationship eventually subsides and the sexiness starts to dwindle after 2 3 years or whatever. And now he's like, oh shit, here I am back again. And here I am back in the brothel or whatever it is, however that works.
Yeah,
Are brothels even a thing anymore? I guess they are legally, like in
yeah,
like in
yeah.
Nevada,
There's
whatever.
yeah, there's still a thing. I'll tell you, man. I've had guys that have been arrested for solicitation, and what I want
Mhm.
you all to know out there is when that happens, you get listed as a sex offender.
Oof.
And sex offenders, I think the system is really messed up though, because sex offenders are all bundled as one. So you're not any different than the pedophile or the guy that raped someone. You're in it. And so that's another thing to think about. And once you're in it, it is super hard to get off that list. And every time you move, everywhere you go, can't pick your kids up from school. Like there's so many things that happens when you become a registered sex offender. So
Wow. What are your
another
what are your
consequence.
thoughts, Mr. Sex Addiction Therapist, on the legalization of prostitution?
Man, you're putting me on the spot.
That's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. Like as much as I'm against it, I'm not. Like I'm one of those, like, I want people to have free will, right? I don't, it's one of those things, we can get into the conversation, right, of marijuana, legal in some states, not in others, right? And it's one of those things, people are gonna do it. So I don't know. That's a tough one. I think if you legalize it or not, it doesn't matter. It's still happening. It's gonna
Well,
happen,
but we
you
see,
know?
like, for example, with the marijuana, I am not a marijuana user, but I know a lot of people that do. And I think what we're learning is from what I've read in some of these things, my wife's a medical doctor, so she hears a lot of this too, is for some people it's a godsend. It's
Yeah.
kind of a medicinal thing, lowering of anxiety, and there's also other things that a lot of people, all the people that are huge fans of marijuana will list all the positives like
All the positive.
glaucoma
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
cancer, and helps with the
Yeah.
nausea during chemo treatment. Well, that's a relatively small portion of the population, but what we're seeing is some people don't tolerate it well at all, and it sends some people into psychosis to take
Yeah.
something
Well,
like marijuana.
it's like anything, it's going to be abused. I mean, the same question can be raised. I hate to do it, but I'm going to say, Ralph, about alcohol and
Yep.
purchasing and why, right? Like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's not.
Well,
That's not a road I want to go down.
well,
Um,
our young people are not drinking alcohol anymore. Very little compared to what we did
um,
when our generation. All the booze, beer, wine, and bourbon. I'm in Kentucky. The bourbon sales down, and they're all freaking out right now. We got some distilleries going bankrupt as a result. The
yeah,
wine people, they're shutting down production. The beer people are cranking back. It's interesting. Why? A lot of marijuana use, more so
marijuana.
than
Yeah,
before, and it's just culturally not as much of a thing. And I thought this was interesting. It kind of goes along with it. You know how we joke about kids or young men that are kind of this loser mentality and playing video games too much. Video game sales are also going down. So it seems like people are
yeah.
just losing other little time wasting vices and escapes. But I don't think porn use has gone down at all. If anything, I think it's
No,
probably gone up.
I think it's increased. I mean, and
It's interesting.
nothing stays the same. Look, humankind, we're always going to have a vice. We're always going to look for something to feel good or to not feel. And look, I don't know. Some CSATs would get mad at me. I don't necessarily know or think looking at porn's bad. Like, I think sometimes that happens. It's just like smoking a joint, or maybe I got drunk last night. Like, we do those things. Again, it's why do you do it? How often? What are the reasons? What's the escape? I think that's what I like to look at with the men I work with is it, like I said at the beginning, is it getting in the way of your life? Is it getting in the way of your integrity? Is it getting in the way of your agreements? Is it who you want to be? Is it what you want to do? Is it like, I have guys, Ralph, it's crazy. Like, we do the math, like on how much time they spend thinking and acting out. And some guys, I've had some guys, it's been months in a year, awake hours in like 2 months of their awake year is acting out. And if you're brutally honest with yourself, and if you struggle, that's close to the norm, I would say.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's pretty
That is
scary when you look at it
problematic
that
for
way.
sure. I talked about this before also, that it seems like the male sexuality, again, with the two extremes, we see one extreme is a lot of men saying that is how men connect emotionally, and that's how we get a lot of our internal validation and sense of worth, is if our partner, has sex with us. And we feel really bad about ourselves if we don't get it. This is how we express our love and everything else, all the way to men admit that, yeah, if I haven't had it for a while, things start getting a little crazy. This is when I start doing things that, the
Yeah,
porn usage, and
I
we
hear
have.
those stories.
And I remember there was a story when I was a kid of some kid in high school got caught having sex with a pumpkin. I mean, it goes of all things. Hey, whatever floats your boat, right?
Wow.
Of all the produce, But
That sounds okay.
I don't
Let's
even
just
want to
keep
know.
going, Ralph. I don't even want to
I don't want to
dissect
know.
that or figure out what that like.
Yeah. Anywho, so
So many jokes. Keep going.
if we go without, and if we're of a certain mindset, I think that's key. We're able to take to some pretty dark places with this, just like with everything else. There's some people that can have a glass of wine and they're done, and they won't touch wine for months, and they don't miss it. It's cool with them. Well, other people have a glass of wine. Here, let me finish the bottle. Let's order another bottle. And you're like, oh shit, somebody's got a problem. And they do that every night for years on end. They got an issue. It's interesting. And they're both human beings. They're both the same species, but just wildly different reactions. And there are some men
Wired
who
different.
probably go, oh, look at that, a naked woman on my phone screen. She's pretty. And they move on. They don't think anything about it. Well, others like more.
Yeah, it sparks something.
Spark. So
Sure.
there's some mechanism at play there for sure. And it's a big tough thing to recognize that about yourself and say, yeah, I'm that type of guy. I'm the type of guy that becomes kind of compulsive in that way when it comes to whatever it is. We talked about the gambling earlier, and the pornography and the drinking. It all goes hand in hand. Food. Oh my goodness. There. Now you got me. Yeah. I'm Mr. You going to finish that? I'm that guy at the dinner table. You going to finish that? I'm that guy. And I have to be told, like, And I've learned what are my limitations with that. Over the years, I've learned, Ralph, you don't bring snacks into the house because as soon as you do, they're just gone. I'm that
Very
type of
good.
guy. I sit down with a bag of
Yeah.
something, it's gone. So limits on myself. Don't bring it in the house. Some of you guys need a limit where you put the little app on your phone that says, "What are you doing, John? Why are you going to the porn site? Don't go to that." Oh, shit,
Yeah.
you're right.
Or we've done social media for 3 hours today. Yeah. Yeah. We're all looking for an escape in different ways. So for
So
sure.
if we're all looking at for an escape, what exactly are we escaping from? Is our life so damn stressful that we need these little releases, or else we go nuts?
You know, yes, no, maybe. I think at the end of the day, like I was alluding to earlier, I think we've lost the sense of community. We've lost the sense of ourself, right? Like our world has become isolating. We are attached to our phones, right? And porn or whatever it is. I think I think men society has taught us we're afraid to feel, afraid to be in our truths, right? Afraid to ask our partner, I need love. I need to be seen. I need to be touched. I need to be hugged. I need to hold your hand. Like I think a lot like society's changed a lot. I think we're trying to find who we are, but acting out compulsive acts don't help you get there, right? They just keep it actually stuffed down and they
Mhm.
let it just build and build. So, you know,
You're preaching to the choir here because that's the crux of my next book, is that we have lost our sense of identity and who we are and our
mm,
values and community. You hit on community, huge thing. A big epiphany
the-
for me over the last couple of years is just how much men don't have a sense of community at all, and unfortunately, many of us do the whole. We have a family, an extended family. We get along okay with them, but at least they're an extended network and family and friends and everything else. And we pick up and leave because there's a big job across the country in California that's going to pay me a lot of money. And now it's just my wife and I and nobody else. And let's have a few kids. And they realize, oh shit, community is really important.
yeah, super
I'm
important.
alone and this sucks. And
Yeah.
that's more and more common. We're just so split up. And Mr. Mark here, you got a question. We
Yeah, I was
did
gonna say
cover.
let's do questions because I got to remember I got to run. I only
Oh,
have
I
an hour
apologize.
today.
Yes.
No, no, you're
Mark, we
good.
answered that at the beginning here. Label sex addiction as a way to shame. Absolutely. There's, partners always
Yeah,
pull stuff out because they know it hits you right below the belt, no pun intended. And, to get you to shut up and back away. So I think you
yeah.
got a real
So
problem.
yeah, so Mark, I would say a lot of men when their partner does that, they get angry. I'm going to show them, right? Or I'll just go look at porn. That is you can choose to run away or you can choose, like I said earlier, to lean in. I would challenge your wife. Like, why would you say that? What does that mean? Right? What's wrong with me wanting to be physically intimate with you and share something that's actually a super beautiful, connective experience? Like, why should we not have that if we're married and we trust each other and we love each other, unless there's other things going on, right? So I,
Mhm.
I would I would challenge your partner
That
in
is
those
a
moments.
that is a speech though by a man who's very secure in himself,
Yeah, that's true too. But you can
and
only
that's
find security by practicing it also, right? So not
exposure
only
therapy. Expose yourself to the
exposure.
possibilities of rejection. Your partner saying, "Get away from me, you weirdo." It's going
Yeah,
to happen.
yeah. And
But
and look, I look, no, look, life always has a lot more no's than yeses.
oh yeah,
So always I like to look at no's as not nows. Kind of doesn't hurt as much, doesn't land as badly, if you will. So yeah,
another mic drop moment with our friend Adam Nisenson. You're full of them today, my friend.
I'm
I'm
on
gonna
it.
I'm
Good.
gonna clip all these. Maybe your key is to be a little tired, and then all the knowledge just oozes out of
That's
you.
it. Right. All my walls are down, my
All your
knowledge
walls are there.
walls.
You go. Well, we
Yeah.
discovered something today. And then,
Yeah.
do men? CR asking, do men use these releases to cope with the dead bedroom, and in other words, avoid confrontation? I say absolutely.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
crux of it.
man.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And
What
then
is
when
more? Pardon me.
go
What
ahead.
is more difficult? Wife, let's sit down and have us a little talk about this. We've really disconnected as a couple, and I'm kind of concerned about us, and yada yada yada. Or
Mhm.
never mind. Let me just go take my phone to the bathroom and be done with this in a matter of minutes, seconds, whatever. I mean, which one's
Well,
easier? There you go.
what resists persist, right? And if you just let that gap keep growing bigger and bigger, you're gonna have a hell of a lot more work than in the moment. I see, and the other part too, I see guys is like they're scared of that intimate, like they want to be intimate, but then they don't want to have those intimate conversations to figure out what's going on, and intimacy breeds intimacy.
Mhm.
Connection requires connection. You have to pattern interrupt. You shock the system, shock the relationship, take a risk. Because actually, you already are by not doing anything. That's a risk, right? No decision is a decision. So you have to do something. And if you don't, that something will do it to you. So you got to choose.
But Adam, for the majority of my audience watching this, that confrontation will result in the wife saying, "For the 100th time, I've told you, I don't want you, buddy. I don't know how many more
Yeah.
times I got to tell you." And
Well,
they have to
then
face the reality. Yeah.
maybe it's time to find a good couples therapist, right?
Yeah.
Or let her
Or a
know,
new partner. Yeah.
or decide, right? Like, what are my needs and wants, and what are my boundaries, right? And what do I need? Because look, this journey is fleeting. It's fast. I was in a loveless marriage for a long time,
Mhm.
and and I did all those. I succumbed, and right, and I begged, and nothing, and I played small. And damn it, it pisses me off that I did that. But I'll tell you what, once you wake up from that, you'll never do it different again, for sure.
Boom. What a great ending. Mr. Adam, thank you so very much. Appreciate you,
Hey,
brother.
thanks for having me,
And
man.
everybody, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your questions. Check out Adam's website at betrayalshrink.com and show your book one more time if you got it there in front of you.
I still have it right here. There you go.
And A Man's Guide to Partner
Partner
Betrayal by Adam
Betrayal.
B. Nisenson.
Where do
Check
you
it
think
out.
it's available, Ralph?
I'm sorry?
Where do you think it's available?
Amazon, of course.
Amazon.
There you go. And I'm sure you can learn more about it at betrayalshrink.com.
Totally.
Mr. Adam, guys, thank you so very much. All right. We'll catch you on the
Thanks,
next one,
Ralph.
gentlemen.